Hey there, Dr. Joe Sebastian with Acing AP Exams. I'm going to help you and your students succeed on the most difficult part of their AP history exams, the free response questions. Now, you probably haven't heard of FRQs if you're only an AP history student, but you probably have hopefully heard of SAQs, DBQs, and LAQs. And in this video, I'm going to actually break down exactly how to write an SAQ or a short answer question using the ACE method, ACE. I'll walk you through my template and exactly how to get all 3 points for every SAQ question every time. Best yet, this is worth 20% of your overall exam score on any AP history exam. That's AP World, AP US, or AP European History. So let's get to the video and watch my complete breakdown on how to ace your SAQ. So we're going to talk about the SAQ today. So make sure you make a copy. Make sure you move it to your folder, and you can always tag me on it. Um, I we these the first part of this class, we're actually going to break down what makes a good SAQ. The second part of the class, we're actually going to write an SAQ. It's going to be aligned to what you learned about on Tuesday, or you've already learned about. So in these separate columns here, there is the free response questions from 2023. Yep, no, 2022, I'm sorry. The past FRQs from 2022. Okay, so we are going to look at one of them today. So we're going to look at SAQ question 1. So when you look at your free response question responses, you scroll down, the first question you see is SAQ 1. For US, it's almost always going to be two historical quotes comparing it, two historians comparing. For world, it'll be slightly different. For world, it's going to be like a passage and then response, somewhat always like that. And for Euro, I don't know who my Euro people are here. You don't have the document here? No, I got you. You're on Slack too, Nara, right? Because it's in there as well. Similar to world, and then it starts the quote. So like US is the only one that's really different because it compares two historical viewpoints. So just FYI. But we're going to look at question 1. We're not going to look at question 1 from like how to answer it. We'll do that in a second. We're going to look at question 1 from what makes a good quality response. So not that this is like the most important thing you learn, but in the grade, like there's a chief reader report. And that is like the person that's primarily responsible for communicating out when they grade these things of why they got, what they were looking for. So when we look at short answer question 1, Western Frontier and Expansion, that's the topic, the max score is a 3. Now, why I stress writing so much is because this is where you're going to lose the points. The average score in America on 2022 on question 1 was 1.13, right? So the majority of people got 1. They skewed towards 1, or they got 2. So they missed a point. They missed an easy point. And that's usually the case with the other ones as well. This is like the average, right? Make sure someone did not get in. Hold on. I need someone to run all of these ops here. Okay. So it's something to glance over when we talked about what made a good or bad answer. But I just put that in there for reference. So what we're going to start tonight. So these are the templates I teach with. It's actually cut off from the bottom part. We'll add that on later. But the method to the basically the hack, the skill, because there's no real rubric for an SAQ. They just expect these things to be in here. It's the answer, cite, expand. So using the ACE method. So what does that mean? That means you must Oh, I have a person saying, wait, Dylan, you're here, right? Or no?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Okay, you got in.
Not on the computer. I'm like actually. I went through the messages. I'm on here on the messages.
Apparently, oh, there is a passcode. Okay, that's my fault. I'm sorry. I will edit that. Change that. That's like why I'm like it should be an open Zoom link. Okay, sorry about that, guys. So, does anyone want to put 9929635 passcode? Let me put that in. Just drop that in the Slack real quick, just so everyone gets it for some reason. Golly, man. Enough technical diff. I'm usually good at Zoom too, so I apologize. So, how I teach this, because the DBQ and the LEQ have rubrics and those are easy. Not easy, but like easy to like show you exactly what they expect. The SAQ is kind of obscure, but if you use this framework, you basically guarantee yourself to get the 3 points as long as you deliver it. The key thing that you're going to lose points in, most of the students I teach know how to directly answer the question. That's the easy part, right? So you're going to actually respond to the question here. Most kids miss a point either on the cite or the expand. So when we talk about cite, that is specific factual evidence. The expand is like your voice expanding on it. So like you telling the reader what it means or elaborating on it or going on further. It doesn't always work out in the expand, but it's a variation of explanation. So it's some type of analysis, and how I can explain analysis to you, it's you telling the reader why the proof, the facts are important. Any questions on that, the framework, anything that I need to clarify for that? Nope. Okay. So what I want you to do right now is I want you to go in. So the other thing that they include on the released exam are sample responses. So you might have to flip back and forth as you do this, but we're going to break down a response. So they have the short answer question. The short answer question was briefly describe one major difference between Billington and Schwante's historical interpretation of American West. So we can just copy it, put it in there. You should be able to copy directly from that document. You won't be able to do this. You actually have to type it out. So if I'm doing US, I'm on short answer question, and I'm going to scroll down. So they have the everything that they would look for to earn the point. But then they actually have 3 exemplars. So every question has a high, a middle, and a low, and then an explanation on why they got it. So score 1A in this instance always gets all the points. So let's look at what they describe. Billington explains that farmers were primarily responsible for westward expansion of the United States. That's it. Billington explains that farmers were, I forget, primarily responsible for westward expansion. Okay. Now, some of you might have taken human geography, right? When it's a described question, if you just put that down, you don't get the point. You need to elaborate on it. So this alone does not answer the question. Even though this is only worth 1 point, to get the full point, we have to give more. And this is one of those unique examples that probably doesn't have much explanation because it's a very simple answer. So the expand doesn't always work. But then it says, however, Schwante's interpretation places wage workers at the forefront of westward expansion. And here is a really bad example that this one doesn't actually satisfy the cite either, even though the answer and the cite are the same thing. This actually, I'm surprised they gave this question 3 points. We'll look at world real quick because they usually don't. They usually have you do more. So I stand corrected in that they actually gave the points here. But you'll see here in a second that this works a little bit different. Shishwani's interpretation places wage workers at the forefront of Western expansion. Yeah, this actually, the one that got these points is actually pretty weak. So let's look at world. Excuse me. So world had a different question, obviously. And they said one economic development. I'm just going to type it over here where you guys don't see it. So I'm going to type it on B. So the question was, identify one economic development that would support Brian's argument in the passage that the Mongols and the integration of the old, regarding the Mongols, the integration of the old world. And we see here on 1A, one economic development that supports Byron's argument is their protection of the Silk Road. This is a good example.
Do you want us to write this on the?
Now, you could just watch me as I'm doing it. Sorry. You're gonna do this here in a minute on probably letter C. So just give me 1 second. Thank you though. The yeah, so like I just want to, in terms of the point I'm trying to drive home is like how this is multifaceted answer, right? So that directly answers the question. One economic development supports, so identify one economic development. So in AP Human Geography, an identify question, this would get you the point, but in AP World or AP History, it doesn't. You have to elaborate. So this is actually a perfect example. I'm going to kind of flip back and forth here. So the second part of this answer is the Mongols allowed merchants traveling on the trade route to be protected and safe from any harm. That would be the site. That is a specific example that is going to get us credit for this. I mean, you're not seeing that right there. Okay. Second part, this has 3 sentences to it. And then it says, as a result, goods and culture were able to be transferred between the different continents. Now, that got the full point. Do you understand? You see where the difference is here, that there is 3 sentences, sometimes there's 4, but that actually fits into our box pretty perfectly. Any questions on that, on what that, when the expectation is there for that?
No.
So what I want you to do is I want you to open up your respective courses sample SAQ response. And on your document, I want you to put the question, and depending on what the answer is, type it out. Let's see what it is. Answer, cite, expand, just quickly. All right, so use about, it shouldn't take you more than 5 minutes. Just go ahead and do that and be ready to share out, okay?
Wait, for world history, can we just use B?
You can, well, you can,
That
did
same
I did use the same. No, why don't you use a different example?
Okay.
Oh wait, no, I used sorry. No, sorry. You can use, yes, for world you can use B because that was A, right?
Yeah, that was A.
Yeah. So go ahead and you can use B if you want to.
Okay.
Let me I'm gonna copy this into the master document so you see it. All right. Who wants to share what they found? You don't have to turn your camera on. You could just, I'll promote you to a co-host and you can share your screen. Anyone want to be brave enough and show us? Or I can actually pull it up on my computer screen too if you don't want to.
I'm not done writing it. That's the thing.
Okay, do you need another minute?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Look at.
I'm not done writing either.
Okay, all right. More time. No worries. All right, can I get one person to share out? If you're not done, it's okay. We just want to see where you're at. Anybody? You guys still with me? It is a workshop, so there's a little engagement here.
Okay, I got it.
All right,
Okay.
Taylor. Thank you. I'm gonna make you a co-host, okay?
Okay.
So you can share your screen.
Okay.
Stop. Go ahead. Share your screen. And you're looking at what, AP World?
Yeah.
Which question?
Question B.
Question
Or-
B. Explain how one piece of evidence would challenge Byron's argument regarding Mongols and the first chapter of A New Era.
Can you see my screen?
I cannot.
Oh.
If you want to drop the link in the chat, I can pull it up on mine.
Yeah, it says I am. So I'll just do
No.
that.
There we go. Sweet. Thanks. Okay. So you got explain one piece of evidence would challenge Byron's evidence regarding the Mongols. And what did you see? One piece of evidence that challenges the argument would be the European maritime exploration. Okay, good. So in this example here, this is directly answering the question. So it's challenging, we're explaining, and the challenge is European maritime exploration. Okay, well, that alone does not give me the point. With the new technology, such as ships, compasses, and lateen sails, European countries were able to travel distant places with shorter time. Great, that's a good fact. That gives me the understanding of what that means. But if I just ended it there, it's really not explaining how that happened, right? Or how that challenged. So although Mongol conquest led to interactions in their empire, maritime voyages led to a more significant role in expanding one's influence in transporting ideas and goods, thus making it worthy of being a new era. So the first two ideas you could get from the text. The third part of that, you have to bring that to the table. They're not, you're generating that response right there with what you know about the context of the era. Does anyone have questions about that? Okay. So always on, so a couple things real quick. In your course, if you went to the writing boot camp, I have these templates, but they're going to be in the writing workshop as well. So you have all of my writing guides. At any time you can make a copy. So if you're working on a DBQ, it's going to be here. LAQ is going to be here. So tonight we're working on SAQ. If you want to make your own copies, you can. I dropped links down here as well. Just your preference on where you want to work. So tonight we're going to do these prompts. These are examples of writing prompts, questions 3 and 4. So questions 3 and 4 are unique on AP History because they have no stimulus, meaning there's no primary or secondary source. There is just a question and you have to provide the answer. So for AP European History, we are going to do this one, and this one's involving the Renaissance. Describe one significant cultural or intellectual challenge during the Renaissance. I don't know if let me see if I have anyone from AP Euro here. Is anyone here from AP Euro or no? It's all AP US and AP World, right? Currently. Okay. So if you're watching the replay, AP Euro, there's yours. We'll focus on US and world right now. So for US, briefly describe one way that one Native American society adapted to its environment prior to European contact. Briefly explain one similarity and how, so we'll just focus on A for right now. And then AP World, identify one continuity in the political system of China in the period 1200 to 1750. Do we know what a continuity is? That's a historical thinking skill. Do we know what that
is? The same.
Yep, it stays the same, right? So identify one way stuff stayed the same in political system of China in period 1200 to 1750. Okay. So Right now, I'm going to let you try it on your own, writing in question 1A down here. So just pop the question in down there and then write the response. So you can block it out first and then we can put it all together. These SAQs, by the way, you have 40 minutes to write 9 responses. So just an idea, it's probably about 4 minutes a response. So I'm going to give you a little bit more time because we're just starting out. So I'm going to give you about 5-6 minutes to write your response. And then I want to see examples from both world and US. And you can just share the links, but just make sure that your sharing is view only. Or you can do anyone can comment. Okay, so go ahead and take about 5 minutes to just write out one of the either your US one or your world history one. All right, so you did briefly explain how one historical. Which one was this real quick? This was AP.
Question 1A, all the way on the bottom, like after the. Just keep scrolling.
Sorry, I apologize.
Yeah, there we go.
This AP US history.
Mm-hmm.
You did 1A, or this would be 3A from 2022. So one way that one Native American society adapted to its environment prior to European contact was the Iroquois building big long houses made of logs. Period. Evidence to support this is the Iroquois lived in the Atlantic Seaboard region, a region that was very forested. Because of the very forested region the Iroquois lived in, they were forced to adapt, making shelters out of wood, trees that gave them. The trees that gave them. The only feedback I would give, so the expand is really good because of I would maybe not say because, I would say due to the very forest region of the Iroquois lived in, they were forced to adapt by making shelters out of wood. And I also, you don't need to say evidence that supports this. You just say the Iroquois lived in the Atlantic Seaboard region, a region that was very forested. So they forcing them to, yeah, that's fine. The Iroquois lived in Atlantic Seaboard, a region that was very forested. Due to the very forest region, they were forced to adapt by making shelters out of woods. Yeah, that would work, even though it's not a example that they gave. That should earn the point. So then all that you do for this is when you are ready to write, right? Obviously, what it looks like together is this. And that SAQ should earn the point. Good job. How about an AP World student?
I can share mine. I put mine in my folder.
You up? Okay. Okay, one continuity in the political system of China. Was a centralized bureaucratic government, correct? The China system followed the central bureaucratic government while they were in power. So the only critique I would give to this, because even though it's identify, I think the cite and expand can almost, they're a little bit redundant in that you're just saying that they followed the bureaucratic government while in power. Even though it's not telling us what to, I would see this as an opportunity to maybe bump up your expand to your site because that's actually the specific proof that you're looking for, right? So this
Mhm.
because that's evidence. The Songyan and Ming dynasties all govern China using the centralized bureaucracy. So that's your site. Your expand should be telling us what the bureaucratic government did, or like what it produced, or what it was beneficial for. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That, and even though it doesn't say that, and you could get points with just that, I would, if you have the time, write one more sentence showing, basically showing off that you know what that means and
Mhm.
what it did for China's political system,
Okay.
right? Because they did like civil service tests and had like, right, they had a lot of information disseminated through the centralized bureaucracy. So all those empires felt it valid to keep that, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Good. How about, does anyone else have one to volunteer? Everyone good so far? Okay. So this will be a little repetitive. We're gonna do B and then we're gonna do C. So B goes a little bit more in depth for US. Briefly explain one similarity in how Native American societies in two regions adapted to the contact. In AP World, you're still on identify one change in the political system of China in the period 1200 to 1750. So again, I'm going to give you another 5 minutes, 6 minutes to write. Go ahead. If you have questions, let me know. All right. Anyone want to get theirs reviewed for B?
I could probably go.
Who was that? Let's see. Go ahead.
Christian.
Go ahead, Christian. Let me get your folder pulled up here. Okay. Briefly explain one similarity in how Native American societies in two regions adapted to European context. So one similarity is how Native Americans production of new goods. Yep. And then just a thing, even though it does require some restating the question, you don't have to restate always the whole question. You could just say, one similarity in how Native American societies adapted was, I mean, that they're fine, but induction of new goods. So adapted to European contact of new goods. Okay. Native Americans, I mean, so even though your point is valid, the disconnect would be from goods to an animal. Because when I think of a good, I don't think of an animal, right? So how they adapted to the introduction of horses, right? Okay. Then you're going to go on and say horses introduced by the Spanish or the English were quickly adapted into Native American society. Okay, now you need to expand on how the Native Americans used it in society. Like Native Americans used it for transportation, for hunting, right? And doing tasks more efficiently. Something like that. Okay. Result to hunt as a result, the horses allowed Native Americans to hunt, trade, and do other things more efficiently. Good. You might need to elaborate a little bit more on this, but that's a good start. How about someone from World? Want to share? Good job, Christian. Thanks for sharing. Someone from World. Anybody from World.
I'll do mine.
All right, Taylor, thank you. Guys, Taylor, I don't have your link to your folder, so can you just share the link again? Is it this one?
I'm not sure about my folder. I don't have all of that figured out yet.
Okay, we have to get you straight. Okay, is this the one? Identify one change? Yeah. You did change, you did one continuity. Okay. One change in the political system of China was that they went from relying heavily on Confucianism to relying less on religion. So one way you could say that maybe more effectively is one change in the political system of China was the government moving away from Confucianism and religion in general, or something like that, you know? When China first started their government, they took Confucian ideals and transformed them only to a government, but also the main educational system. Okay, so cite and expand are good, but they're not necessarily lined up to the question. Unless you want to change your answer. So your answer says that the change was the government moving away from religion, right? But you're saying you're talking all about Confucianism and how it did stuff for the government. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, except for the end of expand.
What's that?
But at the end of expand, I put later on when.
Right. Okay. That's but if your facts are not aligned to your answer, then there's a misconnection there. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
You're stating that it moved away, but then you're saying like Confucian ideas transformed everything. Well, I thought they moved away. So you're talking two different time periods. So like, okay, well then when they moved away, what did the government do? Why did they move away? Right? You could bring in one of those elements there, but you need to cite a fact of showing how they moved away from it or why they moved away from it. Then you need to expand on that point.
Okay, yeah.
Cool. Okay. It's okay. It's all right here. Anyone else want to get theirs checked real quick that we're on this? You guys are you guys good? You guys good? You guys with me? Benefiting from this value? Does this make sense? Does this help with the SAQ a little bit? Yes, no? I don't know. Getting some value?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. Did you want yours reviewed or you just pop it in to give me some support?
I'm just popping in.
Oh, I appreciate it. All right. So let's look at letter C here. So United States one. Briefly explain one difference in how Native American societies in two regions adapted to European contact. If you only put one region, and if you mess up and put Native Americans from the same region, thinking they're two different regions, you will not get the point. So there's the trip up for that one. So you got to make sure you identify two separate Native Americans in two regions, right? So if I'm just looking at that, sorry, go ahead.
like, do you have to state the regions? Or like can you just say like what I did, I didn't really state any like specific regions.
I don't think the point of emphasis is knowing the regions. I just think the point of emphasis on this question is how Native Americans adapted. So if you don't state the regions, doesn't mean you're going to lose the point. You just have to
Mhm.
make sure that those two Native American societies are from two different regions.
All right.
Okay. And then for AP World, explain one way in which political continuities in China influenced the development of the global economy in the period 1200 to 1750. So now either you can reuse the continuity you talked about in China, or you come up with new continuities, and then you have to tie that into the development of the global economy in the period from 1200 to 1750. So again, take another 5 minutes to just write down responses, and I want to see 2 new responses from this. All right, guys, we'll come back together here. All right. Who has a letter C we can look at?
You can look at mine.
We can look at yours?
Yeah.
Okay, let me pull you up here. Letter C. Oops. Sweet. So we are looking at all the way down here. Explain one way in which political continuities in China influenced the development of global economy. China's political stability influenced the growth of trade routes and the increased production of valuable goods. Trade routes began to flourish as they were connected. And the import and export of porcelain and silk boosted the economy. These trade routes of goods pass around different growing ideology and currency and altogether boosting the economy. Is that supposed to say plus or okay? So I think you try to make it more complicated than it needs to be, because I think you did 2 reasons in the answer. You said China's political stability influenced the growth of trade routes. So the stability influenced the growth of trade routes. Is that what you're trying to say? Or is you trying to say their stability influenced the stability increased production of valuable goods? Because you could do it either way and still get the points here.
I think I meant more like trade routes and how like they pass along the valuable goods.
Right. So then you say China's political stability influenced the development, influenced the growth of trade routes, of global trade routes, period. The trade routes the trade routes began to flourish as they were connected to Afro-Eurasia, allowing the import and export of porcelain and silk, boosting the global economy. Or which allowed, if you want to use it in past tense, which allowed the import and export of porcelain and silk to boost the global economy. Or you could just say trade routes began to flourish or connect to Afro-Asia without the import and export porcelain and silk, period. You know, say where it say the boosted economy on the other ones.
Okay.
With the reliable with the reliable importation and exportation of porcelain and silk, it grew the Chinese economy while also helping develop the global economy. There you go. I like that. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds better.
Okay, how about a US one?
I can go again.
Okay, Christian, go. Let me get you up here. Okay, let me see here. Briefly explain one difference in how Native American societies in two regions adapted to European contact. One difference in how Native American societies was how some regions were peaceful with the Europeans while some regions were hostile. For example, some regions. While other tribes in European. Okay, so it's a good start. Your site needs to give the two specific examples. So which region was nice and which region was hostile? So
Like I can put the Aztecs for like
Yeah.
hostile and like, all right.
yeah, so and you don't need to you could leave out, like, for example, you could just say the Aztecs and Mayans were hostile to the Europeans upon first contact, or you just say Aztecs, that's fine. Were hostile to Europeans upon first contact because they believe the Europeans came to wipe out their culture, while other tribes like the, what do you want to use in this? So, and I would swap out Europeans for Spanish, and then if you're going to use a tribe that the French traded for, use the French and whoever you want to use, like Iroquois or one of them.
So I switch out Europeans with Spanish.
Yeah.
So they believe that the Spanish. How do you spell Iroquois?
Oh God. IROQUIIOUS? UIOU?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Viewed the Spanish, so it'd be the French as trade partners and peacefully exchanged for exchanging trade goods with them. Yeah, there you go. Then you expand. You then, I would say specifically, the Aztecs were virtually wiped out because I mean, obviously we know diseases, but part of it was the war. As a result, the Spanish conquered the Aztecs, wiping out the majority of the population, while the Iroquois benefited from a long and fruitful trade relationship with the French.
Can I say like healthy or a long fish?
Yeah. Cool.
Trade. Yeah. All right, I got it.
Yeah, you're good. All right, cool. Okay, sweet. So that is like what I had prepared. I don't know, some people join late. If they want to cycle back through this, we can. we can work on. I can answer questions. Anything doesn't have to be SAQ related. It can be any FRQ or whatever writing workshop. Or if you want me to review a couple more, I can as well. But I want to kind of turn it over to you guys to kind of lead us here in terms of what you need from this.